Welcome everyone to the Goblins live show, and I shouldn't be talking because the wifey was actually meant to be doing this intro. Excuse me, sorry wifey.
That was such amazing ventriloquism from my part. Your mouth moved, but I was saying the words.
Sorry, I was talking as I was
Amazing.
trying to do something else. Sorry.
It's alright. You might as well carry on. Do your bit, and then I'll do my bit. They can then judge which is
That was
better.
it. That was my bit.
What was it you said? I wasn't listening.
I just said welcome to the Goblins live show.
Okay, I'll take it. Today, hosted by me, although someone did forget. So, welcome back to another episode of Goblins Live. With a special guest who I might kick out if he doesn't behave himself, Mr. Goblin himself. And today's show, we're going to be discussing how much you should pay for your first motorbike. This is why I don't do this. Get my teeth in. For your first motorcycle. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll that intro.
Did you? Sorry. Who's doing this bit?
Me.
Oh, okay.
I've got it all prepared. Why are you trying to take my limelight from me?
So I was on my way home from, I went to the office today and I left a little bit late, so I asked the wifey to prepare the show for me, so that's why it's a bit confusing for me.
For you. Everyone else knows what's going on here.
All right, sorry wifey,
Right.
go ahead.
How are you today?
Knackered.
Anything else? Any other buzzwords you'd like to use?
Knackered.
You said that one already.
No, just a bit, you know how it is, stressed out from long days work.
Going to the office is so much more stressful than staying at home.
Well, it wasn't that. It's just, I'd planned to leave at 4:00 and I ended up staying at work for another hour and a half almost, to help out with a few things. So, yeah,
Fun.
literally rushed on the way home to get here on time. I tried shooting a video as well whilst I was rushing home. I tried.
How'd it go?
I don't know if it's any good or not. I had an idea, but I don't know if it's any good. I might just post it anyway, just as a laugh, because it's just me just quickly trying to rush to get home, and and I'm just chatting about
Random stuff.
There is a topic to it.
Okay.
Something specific.
We shall have a look and we'll show.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway.
Okay. Fair enough. So, apart from your exciting trip home, anything else to report? Anything else going on in your life?
Going to Thorpe Park next week.
You are?
Can't wait. That's going to be good. It's going to be a load of fun. Hopefully as well, we're going to get in there before all the school kids start going to these theme parks. So
yeah, we have to kind of do before summer holidays or after summer holidays, so maybe.
No, but well before summer holidays though. Well before. Evening, Mark. Good to see you, mate. No, not a lot else, I don't think. Had an interesting video come out on Friday, didn't we?
Which video was that?
Our smooth brain one.
Oh yeah, I loved that video.
That's the video that we teased last week. And,
Yeah.
It's had a mixed reception.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people took it as a joke, but that's what it was. It was just it's just a comedy sketch.
You can tell the way that it's been filmed and the bloopers that we've included in that it's not serious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that people are getting a little bit like upset by it. Or whatever.
No one said anything. It's had a few dislikes, but no one said anything. People have said quite positive things in the comments anyway. They thought it was quite funny. So
people who don't like it have no sense of humour.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. I mean, we want to do some more like that in future anyway. So
yeah.
So
I've got one in the brain.
Yeah. The wife's got a good one, but yeah. So looking forward to filming that as well for you, hopefully sooner rather than later. But
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's basically it, I think. What about you, wifey?
I'm on a right movie kick right now. I've watched so many movies recently. So I've watched Red Notice, Hustle, Senior Year, Isn't It Romantic? I watched Spy as well. I'm currently watching something else.
That you can't remember.
I can't remember what it's
Can't be
called.
that good then.
It's really good. I've seen it before. Don't know. But it's good. And I've started playing video games. So yeah, I'm okay. Thanks for asking.
Well, 125 guy, don't worry, mate. You're not late. It's okay. That's why we talk a little bit about, kind of what's going on or what has been going on the last week to give people an opportunity to join the stream. So
yeah.
No, don't worry about it at all, mate. But it's good to see you. 125 guy, good to see you. So shall we start off with some dad jokes today?
We will. Are you okay down there?
Who's gonna go first?
Me.
Okay. I got some good ones.
Okay. Oh, hold on. I've just minimised the wrong thing. Oh, wait.
You sure you want? I can go first if you want.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Thank you. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
What do you get when you combine a rhetorical question and a joke?
A roke? I don't know.
Think about the question. What do you get when you combine a rhetorical question and a joke? There's no answer. There's no answer written. It's a rhetorical question. Doesn't require an answer. Oh, that was obviously wasn't funny if I had to explain it.
I see.
Right, you go.
Okay, right. I got some good ones. Right. Yesterday I read an article about the dangers of drinking too much. It scared the hell out of me. So today I decided never to read it again.
Cool.
I did actually laugh out loud earlier.
Is that the one you're laughing at?
No, there's another
right.
one. There's another one.
Ready?
Yeah.
There are 3 types of people in the world. Those who can count and those who can't.
I'm one of those people that can't. Right, okay. I like this one. This is really good. Okay. You ready? Bruce Lee was fast, but he had an even faster brother. Suddenly.
I had that one before.
Oh, I thought that was a good one. Never heard of it. Oh, I really want you to laugh. Be happy.
Be happy. I am happy. I'm winning the game. Did you hear about the guy who invented the knock knock joke? He won the Nobel Prize.
Sorry, say that again.
You laughed. I win anyway. It's fine. Did you hear? Did you hear about the guy who invented the knock knock joke? He won the Nobel Prize.
Oh, Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Look, go over to your daddy. Oh my gosh, look at my arm. I can't let go.
Come here, bud. There he is. Right. What does a tapeworm have in common with the Eiffel Tower? What does a tapeworm have in common with the Eiffel Tower? They're both parasites.
Nice.
That's quite mean, isn't it? With the Eiffel Tower calling it a parasite.
Paris site.
A Paris site.
Yeah. Right. Last ones?
All right, yeah, let's go.
2 windmills are standing on a wind farm. One asks, "What's your favourite type of music?" The other says, "I'm a big metal fan." Got you.
Nice.
You.
That's a good one.
Right. You okay?
Next Monday, we start Diarrhea Awareness Week. Runs until Friday.
Oh.
That's me too.
Didn't want to say, but very good.
I like those. They're good.
Any from the dog? Any jokes?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully no diarrhea week either.
Yeah.
Right.
No guarantees there. Right, wifey. So, how do you want to start off the main topic of today's show?
So, as mentioned, we're going to discuss how you should.
Sorry.
I feel like you should just leave and start again. Like, just go away and come back when you're ready to be an adult.
Sorry.
The poor dog's just like, well, what's he doing? This is why I watched it on me and not you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to talk about how much you pay for your first bike. It's a question we get the question a lot, don't we, about what someone's first bike should be and should they have this and should they have that.
We do. I get a lot of messages on Instagram and comments, asking about, I'm looking at buying this bike. Is it a good first bike? I get a lot of that. Yeah.
So we've taken this question in a slightly different direction, and we're just going to talk about how much you should really spend on that first motorbike. But what I've done to set the scene, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it in two different slots. So we're going to talk about, imagine you've just done your CBT or your main license, and you're looking for your first bike. But we're going to break it down. So we're first going to talk about if you've just done your CBT, what that first bike should probably be. We'll just talk a bit about, your experience versus mine. And then we'll move on to what your first bike should be if you've... You laughing at me in my house?
No, sorry, the dog.
I do this
The dog was here doing something and he went...
Oh, right,
like
okay. And then we'll move on to what your bike, how much you should really pay for your first bike once you've done your license.
Okay, so CBT. Now, with you, I think we made a mistake. With you. Because my opinion is that you probably shouldn't buy a brand new motorcycle as your first.
Yeah.
For one. Okay. For two, you probably don't want to spend that much on it. Do you know why?
Because you're going to drop it within the first 2 years.
You're probably going to drop it, and you're probably going to drop it more than once as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I would not buy a brand new motorcycle as your first one. Regardless if it's a 125, regardless of what size it is, I wouldn't buy a brand new one. So
I've got a couple of talking points to go through, and then we can kind of at the end of our talking points kind of figure out maybe a price that we would say we would recommend would be the good figure to go around.
Okay, yeah.
So do you think age affects how much you should spend when it? We're just talking about CBTs at this point, just this one.
No.
So you don't think you're less accident prone or less likely to drop it if you're older?
No, I don't think so. I think one thing that a younger rider might do more often is probably go a little bit faster and have a bit more of a gung-ho attitude to riding. But no, in terms of like, I don't know, a 40-year-old starting off riding or a 17-year-old starting off riding, they should spend, in my mind, the same amount of money on a motorcycle.
Okay, cool. Do you think having a driving license affects this whole thing? So imagine you've been driving for 5 years, then you say you want to get a bike, you've got road awareness, you've got road experience, you know your highway code and stuff. Do you think that affects how much you could spend on it because you have more road sensibility?
So potentially, to some extent, yes. But at the same time, I don't want that to be like an excuse for someone. So like, if someone's been driving for a long time, and then they think to themselves, right, overnight, I'm gonna buy myself a motorcycle. I'm gonna get the biggest, baddest thing I can get. It doesn't always translate.
This is still just CBTs.
Yeah, but even so, regardless.
Okay.
Like I still, because again, they're two completely different skills. Mm-hmm. Driving a car, riding a motorcycle, two completely different skills. But
it's one of those things that people think, I've driven a car, I've rode nerds, I can do that, but it is different.
Yeah. No, I don't think driving matters as much as people might think it is. Okay. If anything, it's the other way around. If you ride a motorcycle first and then drive a car, for me, I think that actually teaches you more road awareness and things than driving a car does. Okay. If you decide to move from that to a motorcycle, I think. So
we've talked a bit about age and a bit about experience. Would you, and you've mentioned you wouldn't recommend buying secondhand at first, brand new, sorry. Yeah. So we're going down the secondhand route, right?
Yeah.
Do you think people should buy private or go through a garage?
I don't think it matters as long as the price is right.
And okay, so no disrespect to anyone at all, but do you think someone who is new to motorbikes and riding, if they went to a private seller, would know exactly what they're getting?
Not necessarily.
Do you think that's more of a risk? Because there won't necessarily be like a warranty or anything on it.
To be honest, I mean, a dealership that will offer a warranty on a 125 bike that's been used, say it's been used, I don't know, 4 years old or something like that, they're probably going to charge you an arm and a leg for it, which might push it outside of what I think you should spend.
Okay, have you got a figure in your head already? What you're thinking?
Well, bearing in mind that 125s have like an economy of their own.
Yeah, don't reveal your price just yet.
Because, like you can spend the same amount of money on an A2 bike as you can on a 125. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But it's because in the UK you have to ride a 125 first. You have to. You haven't got a choice there. So 125s actually demand more than bigger bikes do, even though it doesn't seem to make much sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, I mean, again, that kind of applies both ways. But
yeah, okay. Okay. So my last question, or my last point, unless you have anything you want to bring up around the CBT, anything you want to ask me, I guess, before we talk about price and that side of things. Do you have any regrets from your first bike?
Yes.
What would you change if you had the chance to do it again?
I wouldn't buy a Chinese one.
You've said that many times before, but if you take away the Chinese aspect of it, is there anything else that you would change if you went to do it again?
No, I would buy a proper, branded, reliable bike. Because my attitude towards a 125cc bike on a CBT, for a lot of people, it's an experiment, So it's a test for you to see if this is actually something that you're going to enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get some people, like 125 guy, that ride their 125 for a long time. That I can't remember how long you've been riding for there, mate. Is it 20 years, 25 years, something like that, or maybe not that much, but yeah. So you get some people that ride a 125 and they continue riding 125s. But for a lot of people, it's going to be basically make or break between them actually having a full-on riding career and not. So for me, the main difference that I would have is I would buy myself a motorcycle that I would have had less problems with, ideally. And everyone knows if you want less problems on a motorcycle, you buy a Japanese.
I guess you're fortunate that it didn't put you off.
No, because I still really love that bike.
Yeah.
That Chinese bike, I still really, really loved it. But at the same time, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't go nowhere near one. And I mean, it's another point to make, actually, is that a Chinese 125 might not only be less reliable, but they might be less safe. Like things like ABS are almost standard on Japanese 125s now, almost standard. But on Chinese bikes, not necessarily. And ABS is a really important thing to have for a learner. I think quality doesn't just equal reliability, it can also equal safety as well. Better braking components, better suspension, even better tires and things from the factory, if you are buying new, things like that will have an impact for me on whether or not it's a worthwhile purchase.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I would do differently now if I was going back to do it again.
Do you feel, I mean, we'll talk about my bike purchase after we talked about yours, but do you feel that you paid a fair and reasonable price? Bearing in mind how long ago was this? 17 years ago?
Overpaid.
You think you overpaid?
Chinese bikes, at least most of them, have got the same price tag that they did on them 15 years ago. So they're not less valuable. They're not. Well, so the bikes that I would have been looking at basically were around about the £1,000 mark as a 125 bike for my own price range. That's not what I would say is what you should spend, but that's how much I had to spend at the time. So I suppose when you think about it, it's how much you can afford at the end of the day, isn't it? But I suppose we're just going to try and give you a recommended bracket of where you should be looking to spend. But the bikes that I bought basically were worth more then than they are now. in economic terms. But the same bike, if you bought it today, with the same mileage, same age, and everything, you'd be paying the same money.
So say again how much you paid?
So 1,000. So say £1,000. If you spent £1,000 today on a bike.
No, on your bike. How much did you?
£1,000.
Right.
It's how much I spent on mine.
Just one bike.
On one bike,
Right.
yeah. On my first 125, that's how much I spent.
Okay.
Okay. But you can buy for £1,000. You can basically buy the same bike now, as you could back in 2006 or whenever it was.
See, I don't think I knew that you only spent 1,000 on your bike.
Oh,
And I say only because how much did I spend on mine?
a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
4 times that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though. The 125 market is an economy on of its own.
But mine was brand new to the point that I got a photo of it being unboxed.
Yeah.
Like you were the first person to ever ride it,
Mm.
weren't you? Like it came with like 4 miles on it. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whereas yours probably had like 10 million on it.
I don't know, but yeah, the 125 goes 17 years. Thank you, mate. So I mean, should I give you my kind of recommendation now, or have you got anything else that you wanna ask me?
No, I think that's all for the CVT point. So we've covered what age it should be, and we've said it doesn't really matter. Age doesn't really affect it. Driving license shouldn't be an excuse.
No.
For because it is a very different thing. Yeah. So what would you say?
So if you were buying a 125.
Yeah.
I would say in the UK you should be looking around about the 2K mark. And with that amount of money, you can buy yourself Japanese. You can buy something with good mileage. You know, depending on the kind of bike that it is, you might have a little bit, a few more miles on it than than you might like. But don't be afraid to see things like scratches, signs of it being dropped and things, because that's what you're going to do as well. So if it's your first bike, then you're probably going to drop it too. So I wouldn't necessarily be afraid of fairing damage so much. Make sure that it runs okay, and if it's got MOTs, make sure you check the MOT history, check the service history. That's far more important than the cosmetic damage to the bike, which you will probably add to.
Yeah. And I think the important thing to remember here as well is that we're only talking about the price of the bike. We're not talking about the insurance, the tax, the safety equipment side. That's a whole nother pot to think about on top.
And again, unfortunately for younger riders, you could be looking at another £1,000 on top of that for insurance, depending on the kind of bike that it is, depending on where you live. So keep that in mind. That ideally 2K on a motorcycle, but check how much it's going to be on insurance. And I mean that's another discussion we could have. What kind of insurance should you get? Should you go fully comp or should you go third party? I went third party fire and theft for my insurance because it was comprehensive was too spenny. It was too much.
I think I've got comprehensive.
You've got a fully comp, but that's the thing though. Buying a new motorcycle, I would only ever advise you to get fully comp.
But you're on it as well, which has brought it way down.
Well, yes, yeah,
so.
But also, buying a cheap bike, it makes it a little bit less kind of like if someone steals it, or what have you, then it doesn't really matter. You didn't spend that much on it.
You don't want your insurance to cost more than the bike did in the first place.
Exactly. And remember, if you're paying for a motorcycle over say 3 years, 4 years on finance or something like that, you'll probably end up paying a ghastly amount towards the value of the bike in that time in insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, every year that you ride, obviously, you should see your insurance premium go down, but you're still going to be paying a lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
you have to build it up. I mean, there's with things like so we've talked about the bike. Need to think about the insurance side of it. I was going on to that actually, and the road tax and all that sort of gump with it. But there's things
Sorry, you carry on.
there's things with your safety equipment that you can't compromise on, and that's your helmet. It has to be, in my opinion, brand new from the shop. Hasn't been dropped.
It has to be brand new.
Where's your jacket, your gloves, your boots? You could get second hand.
Yeah. See, Mark in the chat, he said nowadays fully comp is cheaper than third party for some stupid reason. For older riders, yeah, that is the case. If you there's no point going third party because it's basically the same, if not maybe a little bit less than fully comp. But for a 17-year-old who's just starting to ride, it actually does make a difference. And well, for me at least, anyway, back in the day, it was, the difference was something stupid like £1,200 for fully comp, which was more than the value of the bike, or third party, which was around about £600, £700. So bearing in mind that was back in mid 2000s, but I mean, it'd be interesting to actually, just go through like an insurance application and see what the difference is between third party for a 17-year-old and fully comp nowadays. Well, that would be interesting. I might, whilst we're talking, I might go ahead and get that. 125 guy, he said, yeah, I found that. He found the same thing that Mark said. Quoted £630 for third party, but £300 fully comp. But there you go. Very, very interesting. So maybe it has changed then in the last 15 years. If that's the case, that's ridiculous. Because then these companies are basically forcing you to buy fully comp, aren't they? They are forcing you to buy a more expensive product for a service that is. They're forcing you to pay for a service that's more valuable than what a lesser service would be. But they must be artificially pricing that. But yeah, I mean, I'll go through it quickly, and whilst we're chatting, and I'll just quickly see just a general. I'll go on compare the market whilst we do this, and then I'll let you guys know what I find. But yeah, for me, to around about £2,000 is what I would like to spend if it were me. Oh, puppy. Right, wifey, what's your next bit then?
So the next bit is if we're going to be talking from a full license point of view. So we've
in a country where you don't have to buy a 125, basically. Yeah.
So we're ready to do our next step. So
okie dokie.
Again, my first points are again the same level which we've already discussed, which experience with riding and driving. Would that, if I turned around to you and said, right, I've been riding for 2, 3, 5 years, I want to get on a 1000 now from my 125, would my age and my experience with riding and driving make you go or yeah? Do you think it would affect like how capable I am and what I should go for?
No one should go for their first or second bike to a 1000. No one should do that.
So what would be the upper limit? What's the max if I said to you, is it 700? Because you said the MT-07 for me.
Well, yeah, but that's not quite the same. So a lot of this is going to come down to actually the bike itself. I mean, if you did want to go for as your second bike, I'd say the upper end could be a 600cc, maybe a parallel twin 700, something like that, 750. I'd say is probably max what I would recommend. I mean, the sensible thing to do is to go kind of like the more 300/400/500cc route first. Like, if you've been riding 125 for 2 years, and then, I mean, depending on your age, but you kind of have to go onto an A2 bike, so 300, 400. You have to go to that step. But if you live in a country where you don't have to do that and you just go straight for whatever you want, then the upper limit for me would be 600, 700 at a push with parallel twin.
Okay.
For me.
And again, you wouldn't recommend someone gets a brand new bike?
No.
always go down the second-hand route still.
Yeah.
At what point then would you say someone could get a brand new bike?
From your third bike, I think you
From your
could.
third?
Yeah, I'd say so. So from your third bike, maybe if you've been riding, say, 4 to 6 years at that point, then yeah, you could definitely get a new bike at that point if you really wanted to. Yeah.
Just play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
If I'd been riding for 6 years, I've totaled my first 2 bikes, I'm going to come to get a third. Like, so maybe I've totaled 2 600s. Should I get 1,000 then?
No.
Or should I stop riding?
No, I wouldn't say stop riding, but I would say get a motorcycle that is probably a little bit less crazy.
Yeah.
Something that actually gives you the opportunity to learn the craft rather than, something that could get you killed one day if you keep letting it slip out of your control, for sure.
Okay. Do you think location has any bearing on it? If I lived in more of like a rural place or a, city?
Nah, no different for me.
No?
No different. Because, I mean, you can make a mistake in a city environment just as well as you can in a rural environment. So that doesn't have any bearing for me. No.
And do you think it matters what you're using the bike for? As to how much you'd spend on it?
No, I mean, you could make the argument that if it's your only mode of transport and it's getting you to college or it's getting you to work or something like that, you can make the argument that you should be spending a little bit more on it because it's something that you need to be reliable. But the same applies if it's your first bike and it's a little bike, then there's no point spending that much on it. 2K is a lot of money for your first motorcycle. Even in today's economy, it's a lot of money.
Is that the figure you'd give from a main license point of view as well? 2K? Or would you up it?
So this depends. So if you are looking to go from 125 to a 300, you can basically look to pay the same amount of money. When you go 400, 500, that's when things start to get a little bit more expensive. And then, of course, when you reach 600, that's when they really shoot up in price because 600s are more valuable.
Right.
Just, because 600 is the sport bike class. So that's when you tend to find that bikes will go up in price. So, I mean, again, if you have the money to buy something like that, then fine. But they do tend to hold their value rather well. So that's probably another reason why you shouldn't buy a 600 as your second bike. Probably look either a little bit bigger, a parallel twin, a little bit bigger like an MT-07, or you could look a little bit smaller.
What was your second bike? Or your first big bike?
Okay, right. So if we go back to the beginning, so my first motorcycle was a 50cc scooter, and then that got stolen, and then that's when I went onto the 125cc bike, that's a full so-called proper motorcycle. I rode that bike for 2 years until I was 19, breaking down every other month. But yeah, I rode that bike for 2 years, and then that's when I bought my ER6, which is a 650cc parallel twin.
I liked that bike.
I'd say it's quite a big jump going from a 125 to a 650, but at the same time, it's manageable. I mean, nowadays, if you were 19 and you had that same progression, then you wouldn't be able to go that far up. You'd have to stick to 500 max, unfortunately. But it's a pretty good bike as kind of like a first big bike, I suppose. But again, cultures differ because in the United States, for example, a Ninja 650, which is an ER6, is considered a beginner bike. So, there will be people that will recommend like that kind of bike as your first bike. I wouldn't necessarily, but second bike definitely. First bike, not. It's a bit out there.
Yeah, and I guess as obviously the bigger you go with the bike, you've got to think about again the insurance side of it, because that just increases, doesn't it?
It does, but at the same time, the more you ride, the more no claims bonus that you get. The cheaper it should be, even if you move on to a bigger bike. You'll probably be a little bit more expensive. Like the last year you owned your 125, it'll probably be less than the first year that you buy your bigger bike. But after that, you'll find that the price they'll get more reasonable as time goes on. Right, where should I keep my bike overnight? Garage, driveway, private property. Where should I keep it?
On the drive.
I'm going through this insurance quote.
Let's keep it on the drive.
On the drive? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how most people would keep their bikes?
Not everyone has a garage.
No, we don't have a garage.
No.
We don't have a garage.
Before we move on to that, what's your value, you'd say? And then we can move on to the insurance.
So I said the same price, didn't I, for 300, 400, didn't I? I said basically the same price. If you're looking at something bigger than that as your second bike, maybe up it to 2.5, 3K, maybe.
Okay.
Now, a lot of this depends on the age. I would still buy used, but at the same time, if you want to take a risk, you can. At about 2.5, 3K, you can take a bit more of a risk buying something a little bit older. But if it's a sport bike or a bike that you really want, then you could risk it if you wanted to. But I wouldn't necessarily. If you had another mode of transport, you haven't got any worries. But if it's your the only way you get to work and back, then maybe don't spend that money on a bike that you would prefer to have. Spend it on something that is a little bit more reliable, maybe a little bit newer, maybe something a little bit less mileage. A perfect example is I paid £3,000 for my CBR 600RR from 2003. Well, it was a 2003 model that was registered in January 2004. So technically it was an 04 plate, but it was a 2003 model. That's a lot of money for an old bike, and it had 27,000 miles. So that's a risk. For me, that's a risk. Buying a high-performance motorcycle that's that old with that much mileage is a risk. It was okay. It ran just fine. The engine ran great. It had some issues with the clutch. Something to do with the clutch plates, I think, and one of the fork on the right hand side of the front suspension started weeping as well. But I sold it to a dealership, so I didn't care as a part exchange, so I didn't really care about it. But that's a risk. I would not advise anyone spend that kind of money on that bike if that's all you can afford.
How many miles do you think you put on that bike?
About 5,000.
Oh, really?
5,000 miles, yeah, over less than a year, 10 months, 9 months. That's how long I had that bike for.
The ER6?
No, the 600RR.
Oh, no, sorry, I was thinking about the ER6. How many miles do you put on that?
Oh, God. Bloody hell.
Just thinking how long you had it.
Well, I had it for 6 years or so, 6-7 years. But I put on 13,000 miles.
Wow.
And most of that mileage was actually done in the last couple of years that I owned it.
Went out a lot on it, didn't we?
But no, I kind of used to begin with, used the bike as more of a luxury item, something that I'd enjoy. But then, as I started working and I started trying to go through traffic and stuff like that, I found out how valuable that a motorcycle can be, getting you to work and getting you back home quickly. So, well, like today.
Well, you picked me up from work on it a few times, didn't you, as well?
Yeah,
so.
that's right. But yeah, I mean, honestly, sport bikes are kind of again, have their own economy. You can spend the same amount of money on a sport bike as you can do on something that is 6 years newer, maybe even 7 years newer, 8 years newer, with a lot less mileage. But it's not a sport bike. But it will be really reliable, and it'll still be a fun bike, but it's not going to be as fast. It's not going to have as much horsepower or what have you. But yeah, I mean, whatever, right? Come on, bird. You don't need to bark. Right, wifey, what's your next question then?
That was all I really had
Oh, okay.
around it to kind of decide how much you'd recommend someone would buy, going on your experiences as well.
I mean, I suppose, like, the biggest issue here is if you are one of those people that's going to look to buy a 1000 as your first bike, you know, the bike that you learnt to ride on, be prepared to, to throw away a load of money. Be prepared to throw a load of money down the drain just because you're probably going to drop it.
But I also think on the flip side, don't spend £500 on a bike hoping to get, to save money elsewhere, because you're going to spend so much money trying to fix it up and to keep replacing probably the same part that keeps breaking, that you would have spent more in the long run than if you just spent that bit more to begin with.
Yeah, that's right. So, I don't know. Like, again, you don't want your first bike to be a bad experience. And if you're like me, then you've loved every bike you've ever owned. Whenever you drop one, it's really heartbreaking. But at the same time, it's a lot easier to swallow if it's a bike that you haven't spent that much money on.
I remember seeing one of your bikes drop, and I was frozen.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do, because I don't know. It's like when you come back to your car and someone's reversing into your car.
Yeah.
You're just like, what? You don't know what to do about it, but yeah. I think it definitely stings less if you haven't paid so much out the nose to begin with, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do. You know, if they want to really get into the hobby and they really want to get into it hard, then they're probably going to spend more money than they probably should do. But that's the thing. Riding a motorcycle is kind of like, it's a really frustrating hobby, because you know the bike you want to have. You know how much it's going to cost to have that bike. But at the back of your mind, you think to yourself, well, I probably shouldn't get that bike yet. I should get a little bit of experience first and then go for it. I mean, it should go without saying, really, but you will get some people that will do that. Darling, do you mind checking the chat for me whilst I do this? Sorry, because I haven't got it open here.
I've got a joke for you.
Okay.
I got a motorcycle for my wife last week. Best trade ever.
Nice.
Moving into the chat. So, good evening to Mark, that 125 guy, Gentleman Rider, Infinite Mass, and Lone Wolf UK. Howdy, everyone. Thank you for joining. Okay, so Mark says, I think this is when we're talking about the CBT, so like that type of first bike, up to £1,000 for your first 125. Are you doing the maths?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to work. I don't do maths. I'm rubbish at arithmetic. You carry on, wifey. You carry on whilst I do this.
125 guy, first 125, I'd say spend around 1,500 to 1,800. Okay, I definitely spent way over that. Now I feel silly. Mark, insurance is a scam. I stay at number 47. My mother-in-law's at number 41, same street. Putting in her address, I was £65 cheaper. Wow.
Oh, I know. Address is a killer.
That's something we found when we moved.
Yeah.
Was that all of a sudden the insurance was different, and it's not something you can really preempt when you move. You don't think, I better check how much my insurance is going to be here, do you?
Nope.
It's one of those things on the list that you do when you've moved. You don't think about doing it prior, do you? It's not one of those house checks. Flooding, has it been flooded? Is it subsidence? How much my insurance is going to cost? It's not kind of in that line, is it? So
that's right.
Mark, full license up to 5k to say for your first full license bike.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because again, you're going from 125 to A2 or CBT to A2, then full license. So yeah, third motorcycle, that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Infinite Mass. Back when I passed my test in 87, I went from an MBX 125 to a GS 850G, but the power difference today is a sinkhole. First big big 600cc with a few years roadcraft today.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of missed a little bit of that because I knew the dog wasn't going to go in for a bark there. Hang on. Let me have a quick look here. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, you go, so and what it's like when we talk about 900cc bikes back in the day that were so-called leader bikes, from like the 80s and early 90s. Like those kinds of bikes now produce the same amount of power as the 600 does now. It's ridiculous. So, people were perfectly happy to buy themselves a leader bike back then. It had plenty of power, 100 horsepower, what have you. Now a 600cc bike is producing more horsepower than a liter bike would have been back in, I don't know, 1980s, 1990s, So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just silly. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's when people get kind of hung up on horsepower and stuff like that. When you actually give them that comparison and you say, well, look at 900cc bikes back in the 80s and compare that to what you can get now from a midweight motorcycle. It's no wonder that you probably shouldn't go to. I mean, it probably isn't the best advice to go to a 900cc as your first bike, your first big bike, your first motorcycle. Full stop. At least going from a 125 to a 900 is okay, but I wouldn't.
Got some experience.
Exactly, you got some experience, but that's the same progression as well. If you've got a few years experience on a 125, and you go from there to a 600, then that's a decent progression for me. But come on, sweetheart, you can't keep barking like that. You're ruining the show.
You're gonna deafen everyone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that's all the comments. Lone Wolf, sorry I'm a little late. There's no need to apologise.
That's
We're
all right,
glad
mate.
you're here.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just finishing up this insurance quote here for a Gixxer 125. So this is probably going to come back pretty spenny, I would say. But this person is going to have no claims bonus. Let's do fully comp for now.
What year's the bike?
2016.
2016.
So a few years old, and I've put in the God bloody hell, I can't remember what I was going to say. Kind of like halfway through a sentence and then
You're interrupted by the dog.
Yeah. I put in 2,000 miles a year, which
probably quite realistic for
a rider.
For a 17-year-old.
All right, but that's enough. Might have to go put him indoors at this rate because next door I've got their dog out, and every single time it barks, it sets this guy off. So, right, so let's set this policy towards the end of May.
What was that?
All right.
Lone Wolf has another comment I'm just going to read out.
Go for it.
My bike is a 1997 1000cc.
Mm-hmm.
It has 159 horsepower. I've had HP like HP sauce. Horsepower to the back wheel. Now it has the Black Widow exhaust. Buying an older bike certainly costs more for the rare parts.
Yeah, it's a nice bike though. I've seen your pictures of it on Instagram. It's really nice. I'm curious to see how it sounds as well now that you've done that exhaust swap on there, Lone Wolf. So if you take a video of that, send it over my way. I'm curious to hear what that's like. But so I'm just running through this quote now. So basically, what I'm doing is having a look at how much a 125cc motorcycle would be fully comp or third party, because back in the day, third party used to be cheaper, but apparently that's changed. So, excuse me. Let's go take a look. So, fully comp with what's the excess? £550 excess is £1,810.
How many?
£1,810 for a year. and that's for a Suzuki Gixxer 125 for a 17-year-old that just passed their test. Passed their test. Got their CBT rather. I'm going to go on third party. It'd be interesting to see third party fire and theft as well to see what the difference is there. I've got like a hair in my mouth. Do you guys ever get that where you just get like some dust or something in your throat?
Apparently,
and then like it stops you from being able to talk properly. You just have to have a coughing fit.
Apparently pugs are one of the breeds that actually sheds the most.
But I had it earlier at work in the office as well.
We probably had a
I
dog
just
hair
had something got stuck in my throat. But okay, so near it, £1,800, and that's locally here. Okay, so that's the address here. So third party is £1,374, and this is on a driveway as well. So it's not garage. This is on a driveway. So significantly cheaper for third party, but that's still a lot of money.
It is. Yeah.
Half the value of 2/3 the value of the bike. That's a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
Let's do third party fire and theft quickly because I think most people are going to go third party fire and theft anyway, just because you get that protection from theft at least.
What was the excess you put?
So voluntary excess. For compulsory it was £100 voluntary excess. The total excess was £550. So £450 compulsory.
You are being ever so loud today.
He is, isn't he?
Don't mind your
Do you want to put him indoors because he's kind of being quite distracting, to be honest. Sorry about this, guys. So third party fire and theft, you're looking at £1,700. So that is not a very good value.
Let me out.
There you go. So just a reminder, that's a Suzuki Gixxer 125 2016, 2,000 miles a year, kept on a driveway. So yeah, it's a lot of money on insurance. I'm really sorry, guys, that those of you trying to get into riding now as a 17-year-old, that's just ridiculous. But I mean, so there you go. So it's just, oh man, I remember my insurance not costing this much. This is for what you call a sport bike, I suppose, a 125 sport bike, but still, that is quite a lot of money. I imagine like a CBF 125 from Honda will be less as well, but that's ridiculous. So the cheapest insurance, third party, is £1,300. I think that's just outrageous, absolutely outrageous. But I suppose at those kinds of prices, it doesn't really matter what kind of insurance you go for because it's all going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Gonna pay a lot either way.
Exactly. Yeah. But there you go, guys. So yeah, sorry, that's just shocked me how much a 17-year-old has to pay now. I mean, there were some people that made comments about, they live in London or something. It was £3,000 or something like that for third party, or fully I can't remember, but still £3,000 for the first year's insurance. Absolutely, just mind blowing. I mean, where are these 17-year-olds going to get this money from?
Yeah.
Where are they going to get it from? It's ridiculous. But yeah, anyway. So just talking about the bike itself, recommended 2K. For a first bike, you can go a little bit cheaper than that, especially if it has like cosmetic damage, because some people will walk away from cosmetic damage. I wouldn't worry about that so much. If someone's dropped their first bike, it's perfectly normal, and if you take it off their hands after they've dropped it, it should be fine. Just make sure it runs, make sure it rides okay, and all the usual stuff. Make sure it sounds okay. Nothing sounds like it's banging or knocking or anything. If you hear noises like that just sound odd, then another thing you can do is actually look on YouTube, and you can search for the exhaust noise or the sound of a particular bike. The bike that you're looking to buy, search for the sound of it on YouTube, and then you'll know what to expect, basically, or it gives you a rough idea what to expect of how it should sound, and then gives you a better idea going into it, I suppose. But yeah, 2K for 125, maybe a little bit less. than that, especially with these insurance prices, for God's sake. And then, once you got a little bit more experience under your belt and you can buy yourself a bigger bike, hopefully by that point your insurance will be down as well, significantly. And you'll be able to spend a little bit more money on a bigger bike if you want to, but you can spend around about the same, so 2k I'd say personally, on say an A2 motorcycle. Because again, A2 bikes, a lot of them you might see have some damage to them from being dropped or something like that. So a drop just looks bad. It's not as bad as some people make it out to be. It's not that bad, really.
When Dad
It's just
had his
annoying.
accident, he just dented the frame.
But that frame was a crash bar. Literally, it's for that reason. So if the bike dropped, then the bike would be protected.
My dad wasn't, was he? Well, he had his protective stuff on, but he broke his ribs.
But yeah. And then, when you're going ahead to buy yourself your first, big bike, kind of like more expert level bike between 600 to 1,000, then you can look to spend a little bit more money, I'd say, on a bike like that. When the kind of likelihood of you dropping the bike or doing loads of damage to the bike is a lot less than what it was, say, a few years earlier. Again, that's the thing, guys. You want to make sure you get into it sensibly, but you don't want to have your hearts broken if you spend a lot of money on a bike that you just end up almost trashing. So I mean, that's what I would recommend anyway. And then depending on where you're at that stage of your life with careers and what have you, then you can spend a little bit more here and there to try and get yourself the best bike you can. I haven't dropped a motorcycle in, I don't know, 10 years. Something like that. Basically, since I started riding, I haven't dropped a motorcycle. But within the first 2 years of riding, I dropped it 3 times. Isn't that funny? But you just learn. That's how you learn. So, yeah. Don't know what else to say, really, sweetheart.
I have another joke.
Go on then.
You ready? It's a bit of a longer one.
Go for it.
I found motorcycle jokes. Ready?
Yes.
A biker is riding a new motorcycle on the highway. While passing a car, he knocks on the window. The driver of the car opens the window. Yes? Ever driven a Honda motorcycle? No, I haven't. The biker drives on until he sees the next car. While passing it, he knocks on the window. The driver of the car opens the window. Yes? Have you ever driven a Honda motorcycle? No, I haven't. Then suddenly there is a curve. The biker sees it too late. He crashes off the road into a ditch. A car stops and a man runs the unlucky biker. Covered in blood, the biker asks, "Ever driven a Honda motorcycle?" "Yes, I have. I had a Honda for 20 years. The biker says, "Tell me, where are the brakes?"
Bloody hell. Well, it's same place as any other bike.
I've got one more. I promise.
Okay, go on.
When I was 16 years old, I told my mum I wanted to get a motorcycle. She said, "You're not buying a motorcycle. My brother, your uncle who you never met, died in a horrible motorcycle accident. You can have his bike." A little bit morbid.
That is, yeah, that is a bit, yeah. We don't like talking about dying, do we, really?
No.
Yeah, guys and gals. I mean, I haven't got anything really left to say about this topic. Something's broke the wifey. Save it for next week.
Oh no, I really want to say it.
Oh, go on then.
What's an alcoholic motorcycle's favourite drink? Rum 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 rum.
It's like the what does Mario wear? Denim.
Yeah.
Denim.
Sorry.
Denim.
Bit of a slight detour.
But yeah, I mean, wifey, have you got anything more to say? Have you got any concluding thoughts about today's show?
No. I think.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, pay what you can afford, but make sure that it's decent. Remember, a motorcycle isn't necessarily the safest thing in the world, and generally, if you buy something decent, it's gonna keep you just that little bit safer. You know, it's like I said earlier, you don't want to buy a really old bike where you don't know how good the tires are, you don't know how good the brakes are, you don't know how good the fixings are, the fittings are, and things like that. And then all of a sudden you could be riding down the road and then one of your wheels falls off. You know, you don't want a bike like that. You want to get something decent, something that's reliable, something that's going to keep you as safe as possible. Basically, if you look after it, it will look after you, kind of thing. And I mean, as long as you kind of stick to that, you should be fine. But yeah, I don't think it's necessary to spend a ton of money on a good bike. It's not necessary, especially for a more of a beginner. One thing I was meant to ask you all is let us know your first bike in the comments. I mean, we did have one from, was it Mark? Oh, Infinite Mass, MBX125. Yeah, let us know your first bikes as well. Drop those in the comments, and I'm curious to see what your first motorcycles were and kind of like your experience with them, shall we say. You know, was it really, like a junk bike, basically, because that's all you could afford? Like me, is it a junk bike, or was it something that was a little bit more premium, like the wife's here? Well, I suppose that's a benefit, isn't it, to buying a motorcycle a little bit older in life, you know, earning a bit more money, and you can splash the cash a bit more.
Plus, I'm incredibly fortunate that I've got you and my dad who ride a lot. Yeah. So I had a lot of experience, a lot of things I could talk about.
That's right.
To talk to people, so my experience is possibly quite different to everyone else's, because I was really fortunate to be in that position. So
I think it's definitely beneficial if you have someone with experience to guide you and to help you and, you know, help you learn, rather than me, who there is no bikers in my family apart from me. I'm the only one. And literally my mum not a biker, dad not a biker, brother not a biker, cousins not bikers whatsoever. I'm the only biker of the family, so I had to learn everything on my own. I had to make all the mistakes I made, everything I learned it all on my own, and luckily, and you know, I mean, we're able to pass on this experience, this knowledge to you guys. I mean, I don't know. It's good to be able to share that experience. Yeah, definitely. So
yeah. But
yeah. YZF 600 Thundercat. Nice. That was your first bike. Awesome. That's fantastic. Fair play. It's a first bike. That's pretty cool. So yeah, fantastic. Good stuff, guys and girls. I don't think there's anything more on this topic, guys. And I mean, a lot of you have said some really, really good stuff in the chat, and a lot of it is quite in line with the way how I was thinking about things, which is interesting as well. You know, you haven't got, you know, people saying like, "Oh, spend £20,000 on your first bike" or that kind of thing. So yeah, it's good to see that we've got some sensible heads in the community for sure. Lone Wolf UK, I passed my test on a Honda CG125cc. The day I passed my test, I went home and insured a Kawasaki GBZ 750R. Nice. That's wicked, man. That's wicked. Fair play. There's so many older bikes I really, really want to try out. Well, I mentioned a GPZ 900R recently about wanting to try out one of those, but yeah, that's really cool. Fair play. Dope Style Gaming. I want to be the guy that people can come to about motorcycles. Literally had no one in person.
I can go and ask about
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, neither did I. No one, literally no one. I didn't know any. I didn't have I had no friends either that rode motorcycles. It was literally all just me. Me learning. Yeah, friend, motorcycle friend. Yeah, nothing, absolutely nothing. So I do feel your pain there, Dope Style Gaming, and.
But then now you are that like knowledgeable. Then you can be that person.
But I think it would have helped, though. It would have helped back in the day if I did have a more like a role model figure to help me with it. And, you know, maybe it would have advanced my progression quicker if I had someone with me to help me and to guide me. Because, loads and loads of things that I've had to learn the hard way, which I might not have needed to.
No, I don't need to.
Precisely, exactly. You don't. So yeah, it's certainly one of those things that I think is beneficial if you have got someone, a close friend or a family that's able to help you with it. Then I say it's definitely beneficial, for sure. But anyway, guys and gals, I think we'll leave it for today's show. Thank you ever so much for watching, and thank you, Wifey, for preparing the show for me as well in my absence. So.
And eventually being allowed to host it after you stopped.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm so used to it. I just
share the limelight.
I just go without even thinking. I'm sorry.
I'm joking.
It's just autopilot.
I will forgive you this once.
But yeah. Hope you enjoyed last week's video as well. We had a lot of fun doing that, and like I say, we want to do more of those kinds of comedy sketch type videos. Yeah. So
we had a decent short come out yesterday, which was so funny.
Yeah.
So check that one out. And obviously there is a video tomorrow, but there'll be more Smooth Brains on its way.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed. If you guys like it, then we'll keep doing it.
They are really fun to make as well.
Yeah. I mean, we get a laugh out of it.
Yeah, as you could tell when you stalled and I was broken.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Alrighty, guys and girls. Yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. If I don't see you tomorrow for our next release, then hope you have a good weekend, and we will catch you all next week. Have a good weekend. Ride safe. See you again soon. God, that dog's still going.
I know, it's mad, isn't he?